We gotta beat the final boss on the 5th floor of a 50-floor dungeon? What kinda crappy game is this? Totally unbalanced. Just awful. Looks like the flood plan failed. I never figured out a way to beat the dragon. Did you, Kaima? Guess I'll just show you my answer. Let's enjoy our front row seats to a dragon getting exterminated. An armored golem peeked into the hole to the boss room. Gawa! The monitor was immediately overwhelmed by bright white light, then went dark. The other golems saw what had happened. Dragon fire. The armored golem was enveloped with fire so hot it melted his equipment, burning him to ashes in an instant. How freaking hot does fire have to be to melt stone equipment? Holy crap. Jaya! The ground shook each time Redra roared. I was only watching her through the monitor, but I still felt immense pressure. So this is a dragon, huh? I'm sorry, Master, but I just peed myself. Ha ha ha, don't sweat it. I came close to doing that myself. Purification. Hayafu. Thank you very much. I cast purification on Meat, cleaning her up in a bubbly flash. I wonder if Rokuko and Ichika are holding up okay. Yeah, girl, don't feel bad. Red dragons are strong enough that a party of A ranks should feel lucky to scrape by with only a few dead allies. If I were looking at that dragon up close, I definitely would have peed myself too. That's just how it is. Are you okay, Rokuko? I'm fine, I can cast purification myself. Rokuko, voice shaking, had fallen to the same fate as Meat. But anyway, putting all that aside, I've got to do something about this red dragon. I said all that about watching a dragon get exterminated or whatever, so yeah. Hey, Mr. Golem. Do the thing I told you about. #Atetsu's perspective. Gahaha. I knew these small fries would be nothing to me. Redra laughed loudly while melting golem after golem with her fire. That's my Redra. But be careful, ya hear? You worry too much. 112. Just look, they haven't even hit me. The flood of water had definitely surprised them, but thanks to how quickly Atetsu had opened a hole to divert the water flow, the only real lasting effect were the puddles of water covering the floor. The only thing that held Redra up was the fact that all the water was marked as an enemy on the map. Her mind raced, considering whether the water was filled with slimes or something smaller, but her thoughts were cut short after a new golem came marching in. Ha, they wanna die that much. W8. What? Hold on. What's up, Redra? Oh, this is. Redra started to breathe fire, but hurriedly swallowed it back down. That threw Atetsu off for a second, but he understood after seeing the golem. It was holding a crystal statue as a shield. Hey! Isn't that the statue he said he'd give me if we won? The match of the one we already have. Ha! Can't use your fire now, huh? What a fucking guy. If she breathed fire at the golem, the crystal statue would likely be damaged in the process. They had agreed to the dungeon battle largely because Redra wanted that statue. It was the worst possible thing he could have used as a shield. Then I'll just use my claws. Redra tried using her claws to crush the golem directly. But the large claws of a dragon weren't capable of movements that delicate. They were meant for swiping away hordes of enemies at once. It wasn't likely that she'd be capable of deftly crushing the golem while leaving the statue unharmed. Grr. They were in trouble. She couldn't do anything. Even growling didn't do anything since they were facing a golem. A normal monster with an animal brain would have dropped the statue and fled in sheer terror. The statue-wielding golem, on the other hand, drew its sword and charged in swinging. Unable to swipe him away, she had to sit there and take the blow. Screech! The blade let out an odd noise and dug into Redra's scales. Yoa? A magic blade? She hurriedly took a step back. But the tip of her wing nearly clipped the crystal statue. She folded them as tightly as she could against her body to try and prevent that from happening again. This is tough. The golem came charging again, with its statue shield held up high. Redra, in turn, backed off again. She didn't want to harm her precious treasure. That was all she could think about. NGH, what can I do? Here? What? In the midst of her running away, Redra noticed that the floor had at some point become submerged by water. Each step she took sent water flying everywhere. She looked around and saw that the vent hole they had opened was being blocked up by golems. The water filling the room was likely the same enemy water as before. Tricky. She inhaled deeply to let loose a wave of fire on the golems blocking the hole, but the golem she had been fighting with dashed over to them, crystal statue gleaming brightly. Aya! She once again had to swallow her fire before letting it loose. A puff of heat blasted through her lips. Redra couldn't bear to remain in the room unable to attack her enemies. She was physically strong enough that she could continue chasing the golems around for the rest of the day, but not mentally. What should I do? This isn't a fight. Do something, 112! Do something. Redra, the dungeon master, said that to Itetsu. Ah. Here we fucking go. And Itetsu, dungeon core number 112, had to grant that wish by any means necessary. Even if it guaranteed their defeat. All he could do was try to make their defeat as painless as possible while minimizing their long-term losses. #Kaima's perspective. Hey Kaima! How about we make a deal? Itetsu contacted me while I was giving orders to the golem carrying the crystal golem shield. A deal, huh? Depends on the deal. I want you to give us that crystal statue. If you do, we'll let you pass the 5th floor. In other words, they don't mind losing if I give them the statue. And, I'd appreciate it if you don't pull any more tricks that make it impossible for Redra to attack you. I don't mind handing over the statue to get past floor 5, but that second part is a bit much. I'll make it work if you take us straight to the bottom floor without getting in our way, though. Redra can't fight like that. You've gotta at least let us fight in the final boss room. Wait, really? I just said that for the hell of it. I can't believe he actually went with it. Really though, something about what he just said feels off somehow. He must be under the influence of absolute authority right now. Redra did just scream. I can't fight, do something about this. Better this than you flooding our dungeon and making us open a bunch of holes. Let's take this to the real boss room and settle things there. Deal? Yeah, that makes sense. The flooding must be really rough for him. Rough for the monsters and stuff in this fire-based dungeon to survive a massive flood of water. I knew flooding his dungeon was the right call. Alright, which means you won't get in our way as we travel to the boss room. Unlock all the doors in your dungeon and deactivate the traps. We'll have a 1-hour-long ceasefire. And that hour doesn't count in the 24-hour time limit. Alright. It's a deal. Hey, Redra! There's gonna be a 1-hour ceasefire. Thus, our victory was secured and completing the bonus conditions became a lot easier. Kaima? I'm not really sure what just happened. But did we win? Did we beat core number 112? And the dragon? Rokuko looked at me with a stunned expression on her face. Yeah, I guess we did. We took the dragon down. Now we just gotta touch the dungeon core on floor 50 for the complete victory. And of course, that's what we're gonna do. Rokuko's eyes widened. Are you serious? Wait, what am I talking about? Of course you're serious. You bet I am. The whole reason I negotiated with Itetsu at all was to set this up, you know? But we can't use the statue as a shield anymore, and we can't use any strategies that make her unable to fight. How are we gonna beat her? Well, naturally, I've got a plan. The one you gave me. The plan I gave you? Rokuko tilted her head in confusion. #Itetsu's perspective. GRRRR. Why the long face? I did something about it, Redra. But now we lost the dungeon battle. I'm sorry, 112. If only I hadn't been so selfish. Redra was acting timid in a way very unlike herself, but Itetsu just laughed it off. That's not what the Redra I know would say. And who cares? We got the second crystal statue, that might as well be our win. Won't be getting the gold coins, though. But now we gotta let them down all the way to floor 50. So what? You're not gonna lose, Redra. Kaima woulda reached floor 50 no matter what if he got past the 5th floor, it's all the same. Not only that, but had the flooding attacks continued, the entire dungeon would have ended up underwater with severe damage to all its monsters and traps. Itetsu figured that out and knew that the resulting repair costs would be far greater than 500,000 DP. And now we got a promise that you get to have a nice, fun fight. Pretty sure we're the ones who came out on top here. You've got my trust, Redra. Yeah. I'll give 'em hell. I'm counting on it. You can fight all day without needing to rest, yeah? Go as wild as you want. Yeah. Redra cheered up immediately as Itetsu rubbed her head in satisfaction. Kaima's perspective. A platoon of golems marched down the staircases, guided by a red minotaur as red lizards and flame hounds watched from afar. It was a truly surreal sight. Redra's ready to fucking fight. I'll guide you to the bottom, so hurry it up, alright? I could hardly believe my ears after Itetsu told me that. Absolute authority must have been messing with his head, or something. I followed the minotaur he sent over, and it really did guide me to the downward staircase. He had even built a bunch of new staircases to take us directly to the bottom. It felt more like an apartment building staircase than a dungeon staircase. We got past the first 49 floors after only about an hour of walking. Self-confidence is fine and all, but isn't this a little much? Though I'm guessing this is probably just better for him than me flooding his whole dungeon. We still had over 12 hours left. Redra likely intended to fight for that entire time. Red dragons were dragons specialized for battle, and one could easily fight for over a day at full potential. They were basically cheaters in that although they had to inhale first, they could breathe as much fire as they wanted. Also, all my dragon knowledge came from Rokuko. According to her, all dragons are really strong, but red dragons are built for combat. Their fire breath and claws are top class. Haku's white dragons are more like jacks of all trades, so they might lose in a head-to-head fight. But listen! White dragons are. And so, even though I asked her about red dragons, Rokuko wasted my time for a solid hour talking about white dragons. Thanks to her, I knew more about dragons than I ever wanted to. Apparently, she had dreams of following in Haku's footsteps and summoning a lot of dragons. Since she couldn't afford any right now, she spent her time learning more about them. If you love dragons that much, why didn't you spend your 100,000 DP tip on one? Huh! If you're gonna buy a dragon, you don't want a subspecies, you want one of the strongest ones? Haha, how cute. How much DP do you think real dragons cost? Even a baby costs millions of DP. So, what's their weak point? Apparently the best thing to do is get on your knees and beg for mercy. Or run away! Rokuko beamed a confident smile. That's not really fighting them. Or winning. I ultimately didn't learn anything about a weak point or something similar. The tip that dragons loved shiny things was proving more useful than anything Rokuko knew. That's Haku for you, our dungeon's goddess of good fortune. The golem platoon reached the boss room. Break time was almost over. Okay, Kaima! It's time for a full-on battle with the dragon. Don't worry, I just used the bathroom. Meat and Ichika used the bathroom while they could, and of course, I did as well. Now I don't have to worry about pissing myself when Redra starts spitting fire everywhere. #Itetsu's perspective. They were in a boss room more than wide and strong enough for a red dragon to wield their strength to its fullest potential. In the middle of said room was Redra, spinning her head around while breathing fire. That alone was enough to destroy nearly 100 of the armored golems surrounding her. Though each broken golem was quickly replaced with a new one. Gahahaha! This is it, this is what I've been waiting for! Redra laughed, extremely pleased. Nobody wanted to fight a dragon, especially a red dragon. As a result, few adventurers ever challenged the Flame Caverns, and this was the first time in years of boredom that Redra could really stretch her wings in battle. She was strong enough that she could invade a nearby kingdom and do serious damage, but Redra wasn't one to enjoy bullying the weak. She also had her duties as dungeon master to take care of, and Itetsu was her husband. She didn't want to leave Saya Mountain if she could help it. With all that in mind, it should be clear why she was having so much fun mowing down golems boldly challenging her. She was having so much fun. The golems even wielded magic blades somehow, which could harm her scales. There were hordes of them, and they all worked together to inflict damage on her. They were basically flies tickling her if she paid attention, but if she let her guard down, they would really hurt her. And that's exactly what she wanted. A battle with proper enemies to fight. Aya, I'm loving this. How many of you are left? How much longer is this fun gonna last? It must have cost a fairly sizable amount of DP to buy full sets of equipment for all the golems. That worried Redra, as it meant there might not be many for her to fight. But her fears were relieved by the sight of a new golem. It was carrying an egg about the size of a small watermelon. Redra didn't understand why. Is that an offering or something? Guess I'll make some fried eggs. She breathed out fire all over the golem holding the egg. But the golem didn't melt. Or to be more precise, the golem's stone armor and helmet melted, but both it and the egg were fine. What? I've never seen a golem like this before. It was kind of white and kind of yellow. The same color as an egg. That made the actual egg harder to see, as if it were being camouflaged. Well, not like that matters. This time, she launched her claws at it. That naturally broke the golem apart. But it threw the egg away moments before impact, straight towards Redra's mouth. She had been in the middle of sucking up air to breathe fire again, so the egg flew perfectly right between her wide-open rows of teeth. NGGGH? She reflexively swallowed the egg. But it got stuck midway down her throat. The egg had stopped itself in her throat as if it had suddenly grown arms and legs. What's going on? Her airflow wasn't completely blocked. It may have been a large egg, but a red dragon's throat was by no means small. But it was still hard to breathe. And before she could fully process what was going on, the egg crawled down her windpipe, avoiding the way down to her stomach. Soon it reached something else entirely. Her lungs, from which she breathed fire. NGGH. This feels so gross. What the heck is? Slice. A sword sprung out of the egg and stabbed her lungs. Gah! Ah, gah! Redra stumbled, feeling pain and suffering unlike anything she had ever felt in her centuries of life. Although dragons had incredibly sturdy bodies, they were still beyond vulnerable to internal attacks on their scaleless organs. Lungs weren't equipped to deal with things going inside of them. She weakly spat out fire and blood in a cough that forced the egg out of her body. NGH cough. What the heck? She had swallowed adventurers and been attacked from the inside before. But it didn't hurt nearly as bad then. Dragons were strong enough to easily melt armor and weapons inside of them, anyway. A dragon's insides shouldn't even flinch from being stabbed by a normal blade. This must have been that something Itetsu was talking about. NGH. Cough, cough. She spat out all the blood that had pooled within her lungs. The cuts were already sealing on their own, proof of how sturdy dragons were. But they shouldn't have any more of those eggs, Ria. Redra looked around and saw that she was surrounded by nearly 100 golems, each holding an egg. Of course, that was enough for even Redra's blood to run cold. Aya! Yuwa! She immediately started destroying the golems and eggs. Only once all the golems and eggs were destroyed did she take a deep breath. No golems came forth to replace them. Ha ha! What, already finished? Redra's wings relaxed as relief washed over her. She then glanced at the floor and saw an egg just sitting there. Perhaps she just missed it earlier. Humph! Smack! She crushed it with her tail. Finally, every single egg was done. Suddenly, right before Redra's eyes, light gathered and the egg revived. What the heck is with this thing? She crushed it with her claws. But within seconds, it revived again. Ah! She crushed it again at the same time. Revive. Crush. Revive. Crush. Revive. What the heck is even with this thing? You-wah! Redra, descending into a craze, continued attacking the continually reviving egg. #Kaima's perspective. Alright, just as planned. Redra had become completely enslaved by the egg, meaningful wink. She was having a lot of fun dancing around and playing with it, while sobbing. Hey, Kaima! That's Fenny, isn't it? Yup. Your plan was right. He can revive no matter how many times she kills him. He's doing great! This isn't exactly what I had in mind. Couldn't you have had him, do something a lot cooler than just die over and over? Come on, he's an actual egg, not the protagonist of an action movie. Don't expect too much from him. By the way, the egg golems I made from collected phoenix eggshells naturally did not revive upon death. They were ultimately just golems, after all. But they were golems built from the eggshells of a bird that lived amongst fire. I experimented with the eggshells and found that they had enough fire resistance to easily survive direct exposure to the thermite process, that is, a fire of about 3,000 degrees initiated by mixing metal and aluminum. It didn't even leave a mark. Which led to today's strategy, Rokoko's genius egg attack plan. At first I thought I'd try to recreate what happened in the inch-high samurai folktale, but dragon stomachs turned out to be a lot stronger than I expected in more ways than one. So, I shifted my focus to their lungs instead. The egg-shaped golems had their magic blade-feet arms and legs inside of their outer shell, waiting to come out whenever necessary. I had ordered them to sprout their limbs upon entering the throat, and of course, to hide them when spat back out. But the egg-shaped golems were very light. A dragon could easily blow them out of its throat without much trouble. That's why I ordered them to quickly stab Redra's throat before being spat out, thereby traumatizing her. I would then have the real phoenix egg, which looked identical to the egg-shaped golems, roll out and attack her. I also had a platoon of golems carrying egg-shaped golems surround her just in case she wasn't panicking, that is, in case she wasn't traumatized yet and needed another egg in the lungs to set her straight. The results were as you saw. All I had to do was stealthily place the real phoenix egg on the ground and the deal was sealed. This is horrible. Thank you. Rokoko gave me her valued opinion. In reality, though, I could have had the egg explode in Redra's lung and killed her on the spot. I only didn't do that because it would have made me feel pretty terrible. Plus, I didn't want Tetsu swearing to get revenge or anything like that. Being on good terms with your neighbor is important for sleeping well. It'd be hard to catch a nap if someone was beating on your walls all the time. So, how are you going to win now? Take a look at this. Oh, the map. Wait, what? Why is there a friendly signature on the other side of the boss door? Remember that crystal golem I gave Tetsu? Eh? Crystal golem? You mean the crystal statue you just gave them? No, not that one. Remember? Way back before the dungeon battle even started. Indeed. I was referring to the crystal statue I gave Tetsu the day we negotiated the terms of the dungeon battle. Or, in other words, the crystal golem I gave them. Didn't you give that to them? I said they could take it, but I don't remember saying it was theirs. But didn't you call it a present for them? That was if they bought the gold coins for 500,000 DP. The deal changed after that, so yeah. It was some pretty harsh wordplay, but since I didn't actually give it to them, the statue still belonged to us. And despite how it looked, it was a golem, which meant it was our pawn. A part of our army. The golem in the treasure room is our ultimate trump card. I'm gonna finish this battle off while Tetsu's distracted by Redra. I controlled the crystal golem, making it exit the treasure room and look around. Now, where's the dungeon core? The 51st floor had nothing but the treasure room, Tetsu's bedroom, and a staircase up to the 50th floor. Nothing else. Soon, it got close enough to hear Tetsu desperately calling out to Redra to try and calm her down. Tetsu was right beside it, talking to Redra through the menu. The stand supporting the core was exquisitely designed. But it was short enough that even the somewhat small crystal golem could climb it. I stealthily made it stab its tiny sword into the pedestal like a climbing pick so it could reach the top. And so... Hey, Redra! Get a grip! Wait, what? The hell is this thing doing here? And touch? Itetsu noticed at the last moment, but it was too late. Using my trump card, the crystal golem, I successfully touched their dungeon core. A certain tactician once said, "The results of a battle are determined before it begins." I met with Itetsu the day after the dungeon battle to discuss the terms of his defeat and reap my rewards. We would have done so yesterday, but he needed a lot of time to calm Redra down. "Ha ha ha, you're a real piece of work, Kaima. That statue was a fucking golem too, wasn't it? You got me. I've never seen a crystal golem that small before. I didn't suspect a fucking thing." Itetsu laughed, seemingly not worried that much about his loss. "Ha. Yep. You don't think that was cowardly or anything? Come on, what do you take me for? It's my bad for not noticing the trap. Don't you think so, Kaima?" "Well, yeah, basically. Though I only pulled a nasty trick like that 'cause I couldn't figure out how to beat your lovely dragon wife head on. Time to give you what I owe. You can have the space for your tunnel." Huh? Wait. Wasn't our deal that I got half of Tsaya Mountain? Huh. That was only if you touched the dungeon core on the bottom floor of my dungeon. Yeah, and I did, with the crystal golem. The hell are you talking about? The bottom floor of my dungeon is the 51st floor. Holy crap. He got me. I had touched the dungeon core behind the boss room on the 50th floor. The actual bottom floor, the 51st floor, only had a treasure room and a bedroom. No dungeon core. In other words, I never even had the chance to beat him completely. I was doomed to a minor victory from the start. You've gotta be kidding me. Ha! It's your bad for not noticing the trap, am I right, Kaima? Itetsu intentionally repeated the phrase I had just agreed with myself. I get it now. He made us wait to have this meeting until today so I couldn't recover from this trap. Even if I could think of some way to get the dungeon core to the bottommost floor and touch it again, it's too late. The dungeon battle is already over. It ended while I was sleeping, relieved that we had won so quickly. You trick me and I trick you, yeah? Hee hee. Now we're equal. I thought this guy was just a gullible salamander, but I guess not. He's good. I'll accept a tie this time. And, yeah, we're definitely gonna have a long and fruitful friendship. Day 90 and so, we completed our tunnel through Tsaya Mountain. We named it Tsaya Tunnel. Just that. Tsaya Tunnel. It was straight from start to finish, but it was long enough to take a few hours of walking to get through. Though it would take several days to loop around the mountain, so a few hours was a pretty big time saver nonetheless. Plus, it would encourage people to stay in our inn before making the trek through the tunnel or after getting through it. The tunnel was already built. All we had to do was charge people for using it. Our dungeon had finally gotten a way to earn free money. Free money. That sounds so nice. I've been really busy managing the dungeon, building an inn, working in that inn, and buying a bunch of monsters and items while adventurers invade. On the other hand, I can just sleep while people pass through our tunnel. At worst, I'll have to count their entrance fee. I don't really know what you mean by free money, but it sounds amazing. Oh, it is. It sure is. Long live free money. Goodbye work, hello passive income. From this day forth, I will spend all day every day sleeping. I love it. Right. I need to ask Ichika how much to charge for the entrance fee. Teach me, O wise and mighty Ichika. I'm gonna say that, like 50 coppers is the absolute max. People are gonna have to walk here since there aren't any good roads in the mountain, so yeah. And that means they're only gonna have as much stuff as they can carry. Can't really charge them much for that. We're totes gonna earn way more from the inn. Especially 'cause of all the people who'll come for our dungeon. What? You're gonna sleep through it? Ha! What are you talking about, master? This is a new dungeon, for beginners, with an inn right beside here. Things are gonna get busier from now on, for sure. You're gonna have a lot to do, master. There's just so much only you can do, you know? What? Thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a like and a comment, because it will make YouTube push my vids to a lot more people. And if you enjoy this series, and find yourself coming back for more, and aren't subscribed, then please subscribe, 'cause why not? You are coming back anyway, and I will see you in the next one.